but I will upload this. So my little wife just had something really cool happen while I'm sitting here watching the live that I just put forth, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, you know what? While I'm onto this, I'm gonna go ahead and put a couple more of these miracles out there, and I'm also put a post out to encourage people. If you know somebody who is in disbelief or may get something out of testimony, it is high time that I start sharing some of these miracles that happen to me with the Lord. And God shows his face. So this is my wife, Julia. Say hi. So I told her once you start seeking the Lord, what's going to happen is he's going to start showing his face. Things are going to start happening in concert together. Like I'll say something and then she'll see it in the Bible and then it'll come on a television program. So here we're sitting here and I'm watching the live that I just uploaded. You guys are more than welcome to watch it. And she's in the Bible and she's hearing these stories that I'm telling about how my enemies saw me, looked right at me, looking to kill me and didn't see me. And I'm about to tell you another one, man, here in a minute. That's equally miraculous, man, how God showed his face to substantiate how it was him, in fact. And yeah, I put my hand to the Lord, man. I won't swear, but there's no exaggeration in none of this stuff, man. I don't even know what it all means, other than it means to follow him, and no matter whether things are bad or good. So she's in the Bible, sitting here as I'm watching this, she's listening, and she finds this verse that I never even knew, which is really, really cool. So anybody, go ahead and you can share.
It's Psalm 41, 1 through 2. It says, "Blessed is he who considers the poor. The Lord will deliver him in time of trouble. The Lord will preserve him and keep him alive, and he will be blessed on earth. You will not deliver him to the will of his enemies."
That's pretty wild. And that's God showing his face to my wife. Like I've had enough experiences with the Lord, supernatural experiences, to know how he operates. But for her to start seeing this stuff, like these little testimonies of the Lord, like, so in the Bible it says this, in Leviticus it says, in the Old Testament it says, if a person is to convict somebody of a sin, there has to be 2 witnesses or more. Right, so that's God's knowledge of what it takes for the human brain to be convinced. He knows what he made. So, bye-bye. Somebody was on here. It's cool. Anyway, and that's what he does in real time, man. He testifies of himself more than once. He doesn't just, show you something once. When you see things twice, 3 times, that's how you know it's the Lord working in your life. And so I thought that was really cool. Because I'd never seen that scripture, and it fits right into what he's done in my life, which is really cool. So, while on this trip trying to get these testimonies out, I guess I'll share a couple more and I'll make it quick. Because the idea of doing this series is to just show just how supernatural, because the Lord's supernatural. Like when his hand's on you and in your life, he does things, and if it hasn't happened to you again, like I said before, in your season, you know what I mean? And I also had somebody ask me once, they said to me, they're like, Geno, after hearing a lot of my testimony, they're like, how come God doesn't do that in my life? And the only thing I can say to him was, man, maybe you have a better heart than me, man. He had to show me more than the average person in order for me to walk with him, because I was so far from him. And I think there's some truth to that. He doesn't have to. David says in the Bible, says it twice. I think it's Psalm 27 and Psalm 143. He says, Lord, do not stop showing your face to me, lest I be like those that go to the pit. And I want my little wife in my video. And then he says, Lord, do not be silent to me, lest I be like those that go to the pit. So when I read that, David said that, and it's like, wow, David is telling me 3,000 years ago exactly what God is doing in my life. Like he shows up, because I was so cultured by the devil for so long that the Lord didn't keep showing me. I'd be likely to go the other direction, and so it's wild when you find stuff in the Bible that is exactly what you're dealing with today. It's pretty phenomenal. So here's like a couple more things that occurred, man. I'm gonna make it quick. And I really hope that this helps you out there. So, So when I was running the streets, homeless on a needle, I had a death wish. I didn't really care at all about what I did, who I hurt. I didn't hurt against people. I robbed drug dealers left and right. And so there was this one incident where I did rob a drug dealer, and I humiliated him, man. I took his whip. I took all his drugs. I made him get out of the car half naked. And and my name got out. He knew exactly what. No, he knew who I was. He put my name out there looking for me. So a couple things happened while I was being looked for, and those are testimonies in themselves. Like I'll say real quick. One time I was headed back to a bando that I was living at, and there was a guy waiting for me with a gun, and I was headed to the bando who was waiting for me, and here comes this kid up the street who I know, who's actually blood and friends with them, and he sees me coming, and he knows there's a guy with a gun waiting at the bando for me, and he sees me coming, just so happens he's right where he needs to be, and he crosses the street and is like, Geno, turn around, and there was a guy with a gun waiting for me, but just so, because as God would have it, there was somebody that was there to save my life. If I'd have walked into that bando, I wouldn't be here right now, right? Same situation, same dealer put firecrackers out to have me killed, which are like hot shots so that I would shoot the dope and die. And one day I was walking, and I'm walking. Matter of fact, I'm walking with the kids who just seen me. This is about that same week. I'm walking with that same kid, and there's people walking ahead of us that are also junkies. And there's a bodega where they all sell dope, and there's a bunch of people selling dope, and they don't offer what are called samples, free test shots to people. And usually everybody crowds around them looking for samples if you're going to make samples. But on this one incident, it's only when I got to the bodega that the dude that was selling leaned over to me, yo, here's, I got a sample for you. And I took the sample, and he didn't offer none to, I can't remember the kid's name I was with. I should remember his name, and it always evades me. But he only handed me the sample and nobody else. And I'm like, well, that's odd. So as I was walking, I mentioned it to my boy, and I want to say his name was Menace, but I don't think that was his name. And surely he opened the bag and tasted it, and it was not heroin. It was like battery acid or something. So this is what was happening in the streets after I robbed this one guy, and I'm not gonna mention his name, but long story short, one day I meet this girl, and I was a professional thief, and people would drive me all over the place to steal, and I was with this girl, and she was taking me to steal, and it had only been a couple of weeks after I robbed this dude, made him get out of his car, and we picked up another girl, Ashley, who's actually the girlfriend of the dude who just saved my life twice, and well, once, and we go back to the same block where I had robbed the dude, knowing darn well that's probably the most foolish thing, but that's where the good drugs were. So we went back there. So we sent Ashley out to get the drugs. So she sees her phone in the car. I guess there's like a ploy, and there's money on my head. And any junkie will sell you out for $1. Like, I mean, they'll sell you out for that. They don't care what happens to you. And she's out there for a while. She doesn't come back for a while. We're sitting there waiting, and I'm staying really vigilant. And here at the end of the block, this car turns a corner, it's a little Toyota, comes creeping up the street, and I'm looking at it, and the girl rider who's driving the GMC, she has no idea what I did in this neighborhood. So this car comes up creeping, and I see the guy, the dealer I robbed, in the car, and he's leaning over, and he's looking at me, leaning over the dashboard, and the car's out looking right at me, and sure enough, hits the gas. The driver hits the gas. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm telling the girl, start the truck. They do a U-turn up at the corner. Another car comes flying up the street, little blue, I think it was a Honda, comes flying up the street. So at this time, she gets the idea, right? Start the truck. So we get boxed in. So they're tripping. So we get boxed in. They get out. They got a crowbar, an ex-crowbar, tire iron, and a baseball bat. No guns. These people carry guns everywhere. No guns. And they just start slamming them on the windows, right? Trying to break the windows to get me out of the truck. And we back up. We go up the curb, hit their car. Still get through. She backs up again. Hit it. Bam, we get away. All right. Gone. Her truck is a mess. It's a wreck. It's trashed. And a week goes by, and I'm sitting with a buddy of mine, and his name is Minol, and he's watching YouTube, and he's laughing, and he shows me his phone, and he's like, "Hey, do you check this out, right?" And I'm looking at this phone, and in the image you see this white boy, and he's on a corner, and he's in a hood, and he's yelling with his hand out across the street to somebody. He's trying to get somebody's attention, and he's yelling for him. And as the camera's coming up behind him, you see a black dude. He's got a gun and he lifts his hand up and shoots the guy right in the back of the head. Like, dude just falls lifeless. She's a live murder on YouTube. I don't know if they still show stuff like that, but that's what I saw. So what I know, and it didn't hit me right then at that second, but now I know that that was God showing me exactly what, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but that's exactly what should have happened to me a week before. Why on earth, if they're paying to get me killed, knowing because that girl dined me out, that I'm sitting in that truck, why would they have not walked up behind the passenger side? There's murders literally once a week in Patterson, New Jersey. Everybody knows Patterson, knows that. Why would they have not walked up behind me, put the gun right behind my head, and shot me in the head? Why would they show themselves, pull up right in front of us? But if I didn't know I was lucky then, and I didn't know it was the hand of God, when I saw that video, I knew God was telling me, look, man, I saved you here again, right? So that's like another whole crazy instance. So that happened, right? And I'm trying to make sense out of why. Here goes another crazy one, right? So I got 90 days clean. I'm living in close to Camden. I'm living in Pensacola, New Jersey, and I'm working at a pizzeria. And I go into the pizzeria. It was my 90 days clean, and I get fired. Now I was so excited. I got this great job, and I get fired. And the lady gives me $700, which is far more than my pay. And I got to be back at the sober living house by 12:30 at night. So now I'm fired, and I got all this money, and now I'm a little depressed, right? And I just got a case of the efforts. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna catch the bus and go over to Camden. I'm gonna get high. I'm not gonna go back. I gotta be back till 12:30. So that's what I do. I get on a bus. I go to Camden. I get out, get off the bus. I found their dealers everywhere in Camden. I bought dimes of crack cocaine, and then I found two prostitutes, and I went to them and I said, hey, I don't want no sex. I don't want nothing like that. I just want a place to get high, and I'll get you guys high all night for free. I don't want nothing from you guys. Just give me a place to get high. So they're like, of course, no problem. So we leave. I bought them an additional brick of heroin. We go back to their place, and we're getting high all night, and we're really getting along really well. No sex or nothing. We're just really kicking it off. At some point, they come up with this plan. Let's go on Backpage, and let's get a hotel room. We're going to go get a hotel. We're going to go on Backpage, and marks are going to come to the door. And when they come in, you're going to come to the door as if you're one of our husbands with a gun. And they had a gun. And basically, we're just going to be robbing Jays like this. We're going to have them come, and you're going to. So I'm like, all right, great idea. Let's go do it, right? So who knows where that would have led, okay? But this is what did happen. One of the girls pulls out a bunch of powder cocaine, and I hadn't touched the needle yet on his relapse. And I load a shot of cocaine. Sorry for being graphic. It's not for kids. And I go lock myself in the bathroom. The girls told me that's too much, right? And I'm like, nah, I'm all right. And I go in the bathroom, and we're all the way up on the second floor of like this rooming house that they were staying at. And steep stairs down. And outside, just like Patterson, it's all hood, it's all ghettos, drug dealers. There's if cops are coming back there, it's only to arrest people. They don't come around that area. So I go in the bathroom, and all I remember was pushing the plunger with all this cocaine in it, and that was it. So I wake up in the hospital, and it's a lot of time has lapsed. I wake up in the hospital, and there's this EMT standing above me, and he said I was gonna call that. In other words, he was about to call me dead. He was like, I was gonna call it. And when I looked up at him, he's looking down at me, and his hands on each side of my head. And he said, he's like, I didn't do that. He's like, you need to pay attention. So here's what I didn't know. Them girls found me in the bathroom overdosed, right? Now I had a cardiac arrest, a full-on cardiac arrest 5 minutes later. These girls managed to get into the bathroom. They dragged me all the way down the stairs. And these are just two prostitutes who don't know me. Dragged me all the way down the stairs, unload all my pockets, good for them. And they called 911. And not only did they care enough to do that, which is unusual, but 911 actually responded. And again, in one of my rap songs, I says, revived in the streets where they don't call EMTs. He stuck me in the trenches where I needed to be to knock the scales off my eyes so I could finally see. But I say that because they don't call EMTs in those parts of the city. They just don't. And if they do, they're not coming. You better say a little kid got hit on a bike by a car, because if not, they're not showing up. So they come, they show up. Now here's what's crazy. Also, all this happens, right? So they just assume, the EMTs, the girls didn't wait for them. They assume that it's a heroin overdose. So they get me on the side of the road, and they're giving me Narcan to bring me back. But I had a cocaine overdose. I had a full-on heart attack, a full-on cardiac arrest. 3 of my ribs are broken. Them girls tried to resuscitate me on the side of the street. And I know now that over 10 minutes went by before they got to me and got me in the ambulance, and that happened, and then I'm still here, so if you've been following the series, and if you haven't, please by all means go back and watch. If you have hidden doubt, if you have doubt in your heart of the reality, the realness of the Lord, I'm a man who's here to tell you, man, he is so real, and he is, but his patience will run out, and just know that, because for me, I know he doesn't have much more patience. You know what I mean? And if I ever pick up a needle again, I could only imagine I'm going to die. But he had a lot of patience with me. He doesn't have patience like that with everybody, unfortunately. And I don't know why that is. I know he doesn't have favorites, but I know he has purpose for some people. And apparently there's a purpose for me. There's something that I have to fulfill for the Lord, and this could be part of it. I don't know. But his patience runs out. And for those out there who are playing that game, playing with that needle, every day we hear people dying out there on the streets. And there's a good chance you're not going to be as fortunate as I was, And but yeah, that's another big part of this situation here with me, and I wanted to put that out there. And as far as dying and almost being killed, that's about it for those stories. I think I've given you about 5 or 6 of them, and they're all equally miraculous. So moving ahead, mind you, now I wasn't walking for the Lord. I was only believing, and I was believing. Why? If you all look back and saw what I put before, because of the car accident that I had, and where my leg went out the driver's side window, and I was not a Christian. And as this truck was rolling at 108 miles an hour, I said, Jesus, not being Christian, Jesus, take me to heaven now, because I didn't want to burn up in the accident. I just wanted to impact and be dead. I knew I was about to die. And my leg went out the driver's side window, and it was completely trashed. And I know today that was the working of the Lord. I called upon his name. That truck stopped just like that. Just like that. As soon as I said, Jesus, take me to heaven, that truck stopped moving. And I not a hair on my head was harmed except that leg. That leg was completely broken in 5 places. That accident led me directly to Christ. I woke up in the hospital. The first thing I heard was the nurse said, do you believe in Christ? What are the odds? I stayed in the hospital for 2 months, and this is where my addiction began. My addiction began because I was in the hospital on the morphine for 2 months, and I got released from the hospital with nowhere to go, and ended up in the streets of Paterson, New Jersey. And withdrawing really, really bad, because I ended up put in the jail, and the doctor cold turkey cut my medication, and on the next day they kicked me out of the jail into the streets crippled, and I ended up homeless and out there in the streets. So while I was in the streets, all these things that I just explained to you, from me trying to kill myself and God not letting it happen, to just all these miraculous things where I just kept coming back, just don't understand why, but he just keeps saving me and saving me and saving me. I ended up in rehab once, and I talked to this minister lady, and I'm trying to understand, and I'm talking to her, I'm telling her my story, and I'm crying, and she's listening to everything, all these times that I died, and I was supposed to be killed, and why, and I'm frustrated I wanted to know why. And she put her hand on my leg, and she just heard about the car accident and everything, like where my leg was taken. And I explained to her that I hadn't, not a single other injury. She put her hand on my leg, and she said, Geno, your story is right out of the Bible. And she's like, do you know the story of the lost sheep? And I said, no, I don't. And I know I told you guys this before, but for those who haven't watched, she said, when the sheep gets off the pasture, and I was far off, right? Like I was a pagan, Odinist, white supremacist, not a believer. So I was the sheep that was off the pasture. She said, what the Bible doesn't say is he goes after the sheep, he brings it back, he puts it over its back. She said he breaks one of its legs, right, to put it back on the pasture. She said that's the only way to carry the sheep. Another pastor said, no, that's what they do to keep the sheep on the pasture so it doesn't run away again. Either way, she said, Geno, she said, it's almost as if God knew that we were going to have this talk. And that's why not a single hair on your head was harmed, just a leg, because he wanted you to know that he took your leg to put you back on the pastor. And man, oh man, like I knew that she was right. Like I knew, because how do you have an accident 108 miles an hour? The truck's flipping, your leg goes out the driver's side window. I mean, this whole entire truck came apart. Like it was wild. I had to get cut out of it. Like I was not supposed to live through that accident. And I became Christian in that accident because I prayed to the Lord and he answered. I wasn't even Christian. Very, very, very strange. So now the next part of this series I'm going to get to, it took me a while to surrender to the Lord. I didn't get it right. I kept messing up. And at one point, I came to understand, hey, wow, this is what I need to do. I need to work with teenagers. I want to open a gym, a fitness center / rehab, work with teenagers. And as soon as I came to that idea, the Lord knew, and I felt that was my calling. And then anytime I got back on a relapse where I was really starting to mess up, the Lord took his hand off of me immediately. And I just, I can explain how that is. And he made such a contrast because he kept me so protected for years in the streets. And then when I started to get clean, when I would relapse, I would undergo just absolute chaos. Like immediately after relapsing, his hand would be taken off of me. And 2 times it happened. And when it did, I dealt with chaos of what I call a biblical proportion. Like it's like the Lord was showing me that I was protecting you, and now you want to go back to that life. Now I'm going to show you how what that world has for you. Like, and there's one incident when he took his hand off me, I relapsed immediately after a relapse. I got arrested. I lost a camper. A friend robbed me. It was all within a week or so. A friend robbed me of my money. A woman robbed me of my wallet. I got drugged by 2 prostitutes. Then I got drugged by another girl. I took my stuff to get sold. I got stabbed. I don't know if you can see, but on my head, there's like a bunch of scarring from staples. I don't know if you see it there. But all these things would happen to me once I picked up drugs again. And I knew it was the Lord, like saying, you know what? You ain't got my protection now because you know that I know that you know that I know. Does that sound like that makes sense? Because I know that he knows that I know. And once that happens and you know your calling, your purpose, the Lord's going to let you at that point probably fall. He'll take your mission and give it to somebody else. Then I got clean again after that. It was very, very, very obvious what he was doing. And then the very next time I relapsed, within 24 hours, I was facing 120 years in prison to possible 160 years in prison. And that was their spot. That was where in cuffs, I looked at the stolen truck, knowing I had another one in a whole string of crimes that happened within 24 hours of relapse. And I knew because it happened the last time on my relapse. This time I knew. And I said the F word as loud as I could. I looked up to the sky, looked at the cop arresting me. I said, I need to pray for peace and purpose. I said, I ain't never come home from prison. And I knew that the Lord lost his patience with me, and I was going back. But this time I go back to prison, and I've just done 20 years in New Jersey. This time I'll go back to prison, and I will tell people about Jesus and what he has done for me. And I prayed to the Lord for peace. Because I can't do another 20. And I said, Lord, give me peace and give me a purpose inside the system. And I went in, and I was facing all this time. It was ridiculous. And I remember falling asleep on the floor of the holding cell, knowing that I had a good life, and I just lost it. It was just like that. And like I tell people when I tell the story, there's a very familiar feeling that comes along and attaches to being back arrested, especially if you had your life together. And that is the most dreadful, depressing feeling. And when you wake up in jail, you just want to go right back to sleep. You don't want to face it. You don't even want to face it. It's horrible. And like people who are suicidal have probably attempted suicide in these situations. Every time I woke up on a holding cell floor for 4 days, I felt nothing, just complete peace. Thought I lost my mind, because that was where I surrendered. I gave it up to the Lord. He made it very clear. But at that point, to my mind, it was too late. Now I'm going back. I got it. He showed me, and I kept messing up. After he lost his patience. So I went into the jail. I turned my life to the Lord. I prayed more than my Muslim bunkie. I got into writing music, poetry, serving the Lord, prayer groups. Just, to know me then is to know that I serve Jesus. That's it. That's who I am. You can either take it or leave it. And uh, I ended up walking out. I went to my probable cause hearing, never having once asked the Lord to set me free. I knew that wasn't going to happen. Not that I doubted the Lord, I just knew not to ask. And I went to probable cause, and my witnesses, they didn't show up. And then I'm like, whoa, that's weird, right? So then I went back again to a probable cause hearing, and my witnesses, they didn't show up. So they cut me a deal that included leaving the prison system and going to a rehab and only serving 1 year. And I ended up getting the shaft on that. I didn't go to the rehab. I served 18 months, and I'm home. And I'm home, and I have stacks of music that I wrote inside the prison system, and it dawns on me that it's time to live just for the Lord. And that's what I'm doing, and I'm starting here, and that's part of my testimony. And again, I'm going to tune back in for probably a couple more series, and I'm going to explain what I feel is far more impressive than how I was protected. And that is how he communicated with me in supernatural ways inside of a cell. He showed me things inside of a cell, revelations and coincidences that are mind-blowing, again, just as unbelievable, and all part of this testimony that I feel so compelled to give to you guys. And we are at 26 minutes, and I wouldn't be upset if you didn't watch, but maybe one day somebody really will, and maybe one day it'll help you guys. And by the way, this little beautiful bride and this beautiful apartment that I have now, like, this is all what I'm doing in life, man. I'm working. Everything is going really, really fantastic for me, and I got amazing friends, amazing messengers, and that is all because the Lord that I serve, Jesus Christ, is very, very real. Love you guys.